For the first time since 2014, the SEC will play for a men's basketball national championship. And for the first time since 2012, the SEC will win a men's basketball national championship. We'll tell you why. Locked On SEC starts now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. Thank you for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to Everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. If you're ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed, head over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert. I'm Chris Gordy. Here we are, Locked On SEC championship game tonight. We will get into tonight's matchup and talk all about the Florida Gators and their game against the Houston Cougars in tonight's national championship game in the Final Four in San Antonio. But first, we've got to address how we got here. We got to start in recapping the SEC on SEC game from Saturday evening. It was number one Auburn versus number one Florida, and it was Todd Golden's Gators beating Bruce Pearl's Tigers 79-73. It was Walter Clayton Jr. on an absolute other level right now. He dropped 34 points with 5 3-pointers, giving him the first consecutive 30-point games this far into the tournament since Larry Bird. And Florida beat Auburn on Saturday night. Gators are going to the national championship game for the first time since their titles in 06 and 07 under Billy Donovan. Bruce Pearl saying after the game, Clayton was the difference. He was just flat out the difference. We could not contain him down that end. No team has. Leading scorer in this NCAA tournament, he's the first player with 30-point games in both the Elite Eight and semifinals since Larry Bird did it in 1979 for Indiana State. Unbelievable. Will Richard saying he's poised, he's calm, he's collected, he's confident in himself. Will has that confidence in him. Or Walter has that confidence in him. Will talking about him. He said, we see him in practice. We see his work ethic. We're glad everybody else is getting to see him do it in a game. Walter Clayton Jr. We talked about it, folks. The comparisons, some of the coaches talking about him like he's Steph Curry-esque. He can get his shot. And when he goes off, nobody's slowing him down. The Gators got this far after Clayton rallied them. Not once, but twice in this tournament. Comeback wins against UConn, against Texas Tech. It was Clayton hitting the biggest shots when they mattered most. And Todd Golden saying he's done what he's done all year for us. In the big moments, he steps up, he hits huge shots, settles down our team, and he makes winning plays when it is needed most. And now the Gators move on to the national championship. Auburn, their season comes to an end. And after a record 14 SEC teams made this NCAA tournament, 7 got to the Sweet 16. The league made up half the Elite Eight. And then the Final Four, 2 1 seeds, and Florida will have the chance to make history tonight and win the SEC's first title since Kentucky did it in 2012. Florida takes an 11-game win streak into the title championship against Houston. Of course, Elijah Martin, he played in the Final Four with FAU 2 years ago. He'd like to cap that off with a championship. Auburn in their second Final Four under Bruce Pearl, they were the top overall seed, had an 8-point halftime lead, but could not get it done. Janai Broome was bottled up in that second half, couldn't close the door. Todd Golden saying Auburn has had us on our heels in the first half, but we came out with a great start. We didn't look back. Florida opened the second half with a 13-3 run. Clayton capped it off with a layup. So before we get more on the Florida Gators, let's put a cap on the magical season and run that was the Auburn Tigers. Our Zach Blackerby recapping it on Locked On Auburn.
Auburn's the greatest season in Auburn basketball history comes to an end too early, in my opinion. Kyle Rush of the Barn, Daryl Dapper, Montgomery radio legend, joining us live from San Antonio in a game where we all discussed like Janai Broome was going to get his, and he got his early. You needed the guards to step up, and nobody really took it, guys. Nobody really took it offensively other than Chad Baker Mazara, and you needed Miles You needed Todd. You needed Denver. You need one of the true guards to step up, and the shots didn't fall.
Yeah, and it's kind of been the story ever since the first tournament game, really. Three-pointers have been a strength all season. I think for the most part for the season, you shot above 38% from three as a team, and you just could not hit shots in the tournament. And I think that's ultimately you're able to score in the paint. We were really dominant in the paint early, but bad shooting games, let me say, from Miles Kelly, Denver Jones, to Todd Pettiford, and that is not a recipe for success against a team that can score like Florida.
Yeah, you were there. What did you see?
Well, first of all, Florida is very, very physical. They did what I thought they were going to do, and I think we talked about guard play, and obviously you guys just nailed it. There's no point in repeating it. Auburn didn't have any of its guards show up, but I also think in the second half, and I'm not blaming him. I think the physicality of the Florida bigs and watching it up close and person took its toll on Broome, and he was nowhere near what he needed to be in the second half. National Player of the Year needs to, 15 in the first half, it was great. Second half, missed some key free throws. I just think he was wore down. I think he was playing with one arm, and I think the physicality, Florida kept running bigs at him and really pounding on him. Not only when he was shooting, in the lane too, they were beating on him. And then Clayton, what can you say? The guy is the best player. He's the best guard in the SEC. He's one of the best guards in the country. He had his shining moment, his big game. And, because of that, Florida advances. Even when Auburn was up 8 at halftime, I felt nowhere near comfortable because Florida's got a run in them. It's how they live. It's what they do. And Auburn wasn't doing anything to stop Clayton. And I think before we hit record, Kyle, you made a good point. You can live with the threes that he were hitting that was insane. Step backs, hand in the face, fadeaways, contested, but he was getting to the rim too easy. That needed to be stopped.
He was, and I did a few, we talked about it on the show, but I put up some social media stuff earlier today too, saying the guard situation. I think Auburn's going to score enough to win. That wasn't my concern. My concern was, are you going to do stuff differently than you did in the first time they met, where Clayton went off, and then they didn't have Elijah Martin. He was exceptional tonight as well. But Auburn defensively at the perimeter, they weren't great against Florida in the first matchup. And it was the same tonight. I think Bruce got outcoached. Clayton's exceptional. Don't get me wrong. But your guards are too good defensively for you to allow that to happen to you on this stage, in my opinion. And when a lot of the storylines all week were like, Bruce gave Golden a chance, and he's like a mentor, a father figure to him. And then for him to let him out coach you, like that, I think that sucks. I think that's super, super unfortunate.
That again, the guys from Locked On Auburn. As for Florida, we mentioned playing for a championship for the first time since 2007, and nobody is more excited about it than our guy Brandon Olson, host of Locked On Gators. Here was Brandon after the game.
The Florida Gators are going on. Incredible win. Incredible game. 79-73 over the number one team in the country. The Florida Gators did it. The best damn team in the country. The most talented team in the country. They did it. They did it. If you're an Auburn fan and you're in here, guess what? Up yours. The Florida Gators are going on. They're just that damn good. You lost to them the first time, and you said it was a fluke. What was it that Zach Blackerby said on our crossover? Oh, well, if that game 2 months ago means that much to you, what about this game tonight? Because it meant a hell of a lot more to my team, to my program, to my listeners, to me. It meant a hell of a lot more. And what happened? They came out there and they won again. Neutral site, your house, doesn't matter. Gators beating Auburn. It doesn't matter where they are. It doesn't. Florida Gators, best team in the country, beating the Auburn Tigers again. Walter Clayton Jr., the coldest man on the planet. 5 for 8 from 3, 7 for 7 from the free throw line, 34 points. Florida Gators, moving on. I see you all in the chat. Just know I love you so much, all of you. I love you. Florida Gators going on. That's it. That's it. Florida Gators going on. After what was a dominant first half by Janai Broome, he was absolutely clamped in the second half. Okay? Absolutely clamped. Janai Broome, in the first half, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in the first half, Auburn players kept doing, and Wyatt Langford Jr. just hit a home run. Look at that. To take the lead? To take the lead. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Auburn players in the first half kept, every time they got like a good stop, you know, whether it was forcing a turnover or a blocked shot, ball goes out of bounds, or a clock stoppage, Auburn players would draw the box and then do the thumbs down. And it's fantastic because that same box that Janai Broome drew is the same one that the Florida Gators stuffed his ass in the second half. It's as simple as that. Like they built the box, that's fine, but Florida stuffed them in there. Walter Clayton Jr., 34 points, just 2 assists, which is fine because he was just getting buckets. That's it. And look, I think it's that much more impressive that it was so clear Auburn was throwing everything they humanly could throw at Walter Clayton Jr., and he was still getting buckets. Buckets, right? Elijah Martin. I mean, the slam dunk that just felt like a bit of a dagger, right? Like not like the dagger, but it felt like a dagger. And Ruben Chinilu, his multiple just great defensive plays, hustle plays on offensive rebounds. Auburn had 6 offensive rebounds at halftime, and Auburn finished with 9 offensive rebounds. Auburn had 3 offensive rebounds in the second half, right? Auburn had 3 offensive rebounds in the second half. Florida had 7. Okay? Both teams got really sloppy with turnovers. And Florida, I feel like Florida kind of wanted that. Like they were like, hey, like Auburn's not going to win a sloppy game. Auburn needs to play clean to win.
And now the stage is set for an epic matchup between number 1 seeds in the championship game. It is Florida versus Houston. Thanks again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we'll tell you the reasons why Florida will win the national championship tonight. That's coming up next. Well, first, I want to remind you guys about our friends over at Intuit TurboTax. And look, taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. And now taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who will give your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can go focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. So you can get all the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is taxes. Get with an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available via TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to Everydayers. Keep coming back and checking us out each and every day. We're going to get back into heavy football talk here in the next couple of weeks. We'll get more into spring ball and all that, but we are too focused here on the basketball aspect as, look, after winning comeback thrillers in their respective Final Four games, the Florida Gators and Houston Cougars, they will hit the court tonight. A neck-and-neck perspective from the betting side of things. Of course, our friends at FanDuel have this as a very close one. Florida opened. Sorry, Freudian slip there, Auburn fans. Florida opened as a 1.5-point favorite over Houston. total sitting somewhere around 140, 141. And with these two teams being so closely matched, there's a lot of folks that, a lot of the betting experts saying this thing could go either way. In a tournament characterized much by chalk, a record 52 betting favorites have won games outright. Houston's comeback win over Duke in the Final Four, definitely going to be one of the more shocking upsets of this postseason. Florida has been a popular play among the betting public, with sports books adjusting to their dominance week by week. But Florida will meet a team just as resilient as them when they face off against Houston in this title game. Cougars pulled off a stunning upset, like we said, in the Final Four, coming back from 9 points down in the final 3 minutes to beat Duke 70-67. Todd Golden talking about his team. He said, look, we can draw a little experience from that SEC tournament championship game. Obviously, we played Tennessee in Nashville. Probably took for granted what that environment would be like. We walked in there, and it was like 80% Tennessee fans. I was like, man, we got a road game to try to win the SEC title. Golden State, I anticipate that's what it's going to be like Monday night. Keep in mind, San Antonio, 3-hour drive from Houston. Going to be a lot of folks, Houston Cougar fans, making that drive. But unlike the game in Knoxville, Florida was able to defeat Tennessee 86-77 in front of a pro-Tennessee crowd to win the SEC tournament title. Todd Golden hopes to see his team play with that same attitude. He said it's just part of what you have to get through to win a national championship. Houston's an amazing team. They deserve this opportunity. Obviously, they're going to have some great momentum. They should have a lot of people there Monday night. For us, it allows us to add another chip on our shoulder and try to prove that we belong and that we can win in another hostile environment. It'll be a bigger challenge because of that. It's nothing that we haven't seen before this year. Being able to fight through it, I'm hopeful we will. So let's get into this matchup. Two big stars on both sides. Walter Clayton Jr. on the side of Florida, LJ Cryer for Houston. Todd Golden talking about LJ Cryer, the 6'3", called him the best guard in the country for Houston. I'm sorry, Clayton. Walter Clayton is his best guard in the country. He's complimentary of LJ Cryer, though. He is Houston's top offensive threat, coming off a 26-point game against Duke, going 8 of 14 from the field, 6 of 9 from three. He's averaging 15.5 points on the season while shooting 42% from three-point range. Florida guard Elijah Martin likely going to have to take on that defensive assignment on Cryer. But for Houston, they got to worry about Walter Clayton. And like we said, Clayton averaging 32 points over his last 2 games. And again, those Larry Bird, back-to-back 30-point games in the Elite Eight national semifinals, pretty damn impressive. But when we talk about these two teams, physicality. Houston showed their physicality down the stretch against Duke. They got real physical. Houston projects similar to Tennessee and how hard it guards from one end of the floor to the other. Cougars lead the nation in scoring defense. They give up just 58 points a game. Like I said, that Duke game, they out-rebounded the Blue Devils down the stretch. Out-hustled them in second chance points. They're 6'8", 230-pound forward Joseph Tugler, big and physical on that front line. Jawan Roberts also for Houston. Todd Golden saying, you look at those guys, Tugler and Roberts, they have incredible length and athleticism inside the paint. They wear you down, make it really hard on you. Definitely concerns me. Florida's going to need its 4-post rotation to continue to step up. Of course, Chinyelu, Alex Condon, they did their job against Janai Broom and attacking. Golden saying they controlled the game in the first half. We stuck around. We were hanging in. We kind of felt like we were getting knocked around a little bit. We controlled the game in the second half. Thought after the first 2 minutes of the second half, we did that consistently. All 3 facets: defending, rebounding, taking care of the basketball. Again, going to be a hostile environment. A lot of Houston fans will be there in attendance. Let's get to predictions. The Gainesville Sun, they predict, no surprise, Florida will beat Houston. They say 69-63. Gainesville Sun says the Gators will be held under 70 points for only the second time this season, but it won't matter. Expect Florida to match Houston's physicality and celebrate their 3rd national title in school history. Walter Clayton Jr., like we said, averaging close to 25 points a game in the tournament, shooting 48% from 3 in the postseason. And LJ Cryer has scored 43 points in his last 2 games while playing all but 2 minutes in those games. On paper, Florida's a better starting lineup, a deeper bench, and more star power than Houston. But Kelvin Sampson is on the verge of a milestone win. If he wins the national title, he will win his 800th career game. So he's got something big to play for there. But Florida's All-American guard, Walter Clayton, has been on a tear. It's going to be a fun one. CBS Sports, they are going with Houston plus 1.5. As for the rest of the experts, Jerry Palm, he's taking the Gators to win. David Cobb of CBS picked the Gators. But a lot of the other national folks are picking Houston after their upset win against Duke. They became a sexy pick. Jeff Borzello, Myron Metcalf, Gary Parrish, Matt Norlander, Chip Patterson, they're all picking Houston. But us here on Locked On SEC, we're going bold, right? We're rooting for the conference. Like, as some people say, like, I get it. Not everybody, if you're an SEC fan, a lot of times you don't give a damn if somebody else in the conference wins. It's, it's not about conference pride for some people. They're just like, if you're a Georgia fan, I'm not rooting for Florida to win a national championship. I get it. But just know the narratives are out there for conference pride anyway. You're going to hear from, Big 12 folks saying, bleep you, SEC. Big 12 just won a championship. You're going to hear from other conferences as well. Look, to me, this has been a big one. The fact the SEC has not been able to win a championship in men's college basketball in over a decade, I don't give a damn who wins it. Just somebody has to win it so that we can get the monkey off your back and say SEC's won championships in every sport in the last decade. This is the one that they've evaded, the men's basketball championship. So our prediction, we're going to ride with the Florida Gators. And get ready for this prediction. We're going with Florida 75, Houston 61. Close throughout this first half. Gators pull away in the second half. Houston's offense stalls out. They have no answer. Remember, they stalled out in that game against Duke. They just regrouped in those final minutes. But Duke was well on their way to win that game by 10-plus points, right? I think that happens here, but I think it holds with Florida. Florida 75, Houston 61. Gators 10 over their last 10 games, averaging close to 89 points, 38 rebounds, 14 assists. Their opponents have averaged 77 in that stretch. I think Florida's offense, too much. Walter Clayton and company, and they get it done. All right, still more to come here on Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. The SEC did come up short on the women's side of things. We'll recap that here, as well as catch you up on a couple of transfer portal guys moving around. We'll get you caught up with that here in just a second. Hey, want to remind you guys, if you've ever checked your bank account and wondered where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility, control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. When you start using Monarch, you realize just how much you were spending on food delivery. It's going to make you want to budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Go take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege. That's at monarchmoney.com. That's MONARCH money.com. And you will get 50% off your first year when you use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Check them out today. monarchmoney.com. All right, run along here to Locked On SEC. We've made our official prediction for the men's side of things tonight in the national championship. The women's national championship was yesterday, and unfortunately, South Carolina coming up short. UConn dominated South Carolina to win the 2025 national championship on the women's side of things. UConn's 12th championship in program history. They blow out the Gamecocks in Tampa, 82-59. Huskies were up 5 at the end of the first quarter. They were up 10 at halftime. In the third quarter, they outscored the Gamecocks 26-16 and opened it up to a 20-point game and widened the lead all the way up to a 32-point lead in the fourth quarter. It was something to behold. UConn freshman Sarah Strong. She is the next big superstar in women's college basketball. She had a double-double, 24 points, 15 rebounds. Of course, Paige Beckers, the face of UConn, she scored 17 points in her final game, wins a national championship game for the first time in her decorated career, and the Gamecocks just cannot overcome a rough shooting day. They made 34% or shot 34% from the floor. Neither team shot well from three, but South Carolina just didn't do enough, and they're going to lose. Huskies snapped the Gamecocks 71-game home win streak back in February, and South Carolina entered the tournament as SEC tournament champs. And Dawn Staley, she has been pretty damn impressive throughout her coaching career. Staley even predicted on Saturday that over the next few years that Sarah Strong might end up being the best UConn player of all time, which is saying a lot. I mean, they've had a lot of great players come through there, but 11 turnovers didn't help, and UConn capitalized. And at the start of the fourth quarter, you could tell Dawn Staley was kind of resigned to her first national championship game loss of her coaching career. Holly Rowe asked her, "Who else can score for you right now? Where do those points come from?" Dawn Staley said, "I don't know." Chloe Kitts had 9 points, Anaya Fagan had 8, Joyce Edwards and Tessa Johnson had 10 off the bench. But 59 points was the fewest scoring a game by the Gamecocks all season long. Still an impressive run by South Carolina, finishing as NCAA runner-up. They have won 2 of the past 4 national championships, and they have made the Final Four 5 straight seasons. Let me just let you guys in on something. Not the last we've heard of South Carolina women's basketball. I think they're going to be right back here very soon. All right, before we go, a couple of transfer portal tidbits to jump into coming out of yesterday. Former McDonald's All-American is heading to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, making a pickup in the portal from Miami transfer Jaleel Bethea. His guard, 6'5", 190 pounds, coming off his freshman year, played in all 31 games, made 16 starts, averaged 7 points a game, led all Miami freshmen in scoring, posted double figures in 9 games, including a 21-point outing against Syracuse. That was a career high for him. Was a 5-star recruit, number 1 player in the state of Pennsylvania, number 3 shooting guard in the class of 2024. And he signed with Miami over Alabama coming out, but now he ends up where the schools he considered coming out of high school. He is heading to Alabama. So big pickup there for Nate Oates and company. Meanwhile, over at Kentucky, we told you last week, Kerr Kriisa was heading into the transfer portal, and he has committed to Cincinnati. So the 6'3" senior from Estonia only played 9 games for the Wildcats this season and then got injured, played 3 years for Arizona, 1 season with West Virginia. So he's back on the move. He will be heading to Cincinnati. And then an SEC to SEC transfer, Mizzou and Dennis Gates. They have a portal man coming in from Oklahoma as Oklahoma center transfer Luke Northweather has signed with Mizzou. 6'11", 240-pound Missouri native, playing 30 games for Oklahoma this season, but it will be a homecoming for him. Played his high school basketball in Jefferson City, playing 55 games for the Sooners over the past 2 seasons. Averaged 2.5 points, 1.5 rebounds per game. So we'll see if his game steps up. But going from Oklahoma to Mizzou is Luke Northweather. So there you have it. Just a couple of portal movements there, and I'm sure there'll be a little bit more news on portal movement here in the coming days on the basketball side of things. That's going to do it for me, Chris Gordy. Again, if you're an SEC fan of another team, if you want to join me in rooting for the Gators tonight, hey, go SEC, go Gators. If you want to say the hell with the Gators, sure, why not? Go ahead and say that too. Totally get it if you're not rooting for them, but hey, a little pride for the SEC here. It's been a while, man. It's been over a decade since they played for a championship, and over a decade since they've won a championship. So let's see if Todd Golden and the Gators get it done. They've got our backing to win it all tonight. I'm Chris Gordy. Thank you for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Draft Show with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. As your favorite collegiate players get ready for the next level, get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every day. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Chris Gordy. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Come on back and see us.